Now, this is kind of out of character for me. These guys all know that I'm fairly organized in what I do, and I'm pretty on task with all the things that we do around the All-Star game. So year number 12 here, I'm going to do something that we've never done before. I'm going to go a little bit off script, and I want to talk about that first year back in 2008. So 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we had an idea, got kicked around, and thought this might be a good idea. And so there's two individuals at that time. There really wasn't any other two. There was two, and that was it. There was two guys that if either one of them said no, not Jody, she already had said that I was okay to pursue this. So there was two guys in the UP here that really this game hinged upon that very first year in 2008. And so when I had the idea, and I kind of had it to the point where I thought we could move forward with it, I basically just approached both of them. I approached them each individually, and I just said, this is the idea, this is what I have. I mean, I'm just some kid from Wisconsin, with really just a very vague tie to the UP, up here with my wife from Wynn. But I said I had an idea, and this is what we're going to do, and this is kind of what I planned, and I wasn't sure, how many years it might continue, but, it might be something special for you guys up here. And those two individuals were Bill Santilli from Forest Park and Jeff Olson from Ishmael. Those were the two head coaches for the very first year in 2008. And true to form, just like you think that they would, and just like everybody has talked about them, they didn't even hesitate. It didn't even matter. I explained for 5 minutes on what I thought this might be, and neither one of them even hesitated. They said, yep, no problem. Yeah, yep, it's great. Sounds good. It's UP football. Let's do it. Let's figure out the details as we go. And so those guys really were so instrumental in starting this game and kind of getting everybody else on board, because Bill Santilli coming off of state championship team back in 2008, he says no, everybody says no. If he doesn't get on board with this, then nobody does. Jeff Olson, was coach for many, many years. His state championships were to come after that, but if he says no, everybody in this area says no as well. So those two guys, I owe a lot to, and they become really good friends of mine through this process. And I'd like to, I tried to, turn this banquet now, I think, as we go through this in years to come, into more of a reunion for the coaches. If it's a way to get together and talk and chat and catch up and all of that. And so from that 2008 coaching staff, other guys that cannot be forgotten. We've got a guy that's, of course, Jeff is coaching in this game, and he's done it 7 times. We've got Paul Jacobson from Negaunee. He's the head coach at Negaunee. He's coached in this multiple times. He was in that first year too. We also have a unique opportunity. Jim Iwaniki from Marquette. His son Josh is playing in this game. He coached in that first game. And then we've got Scott Sergula from Westwood. He was at Ishpeming at the time. He coached in that first game. And in the back over there, we've got Andy Crouch from Lakeland and Hubble. He coached in that first game in 2008 too. And all these guys are here today. So I'd like them to stand up and let's recognize them. Without that, this just doesn't happen. The coach has taken a chance those first couple of years. After we got through that first one, then it kind of snowballed from there. So moving on to the next part of our presentation here, I have not told Jeff Olson about this, what I'm going to do next. So this is a surprise to him as well. And we've never done this before either. I don't know that guys like, and I apologize to guys like, Joe Redinger from North Dickinson and Bill Santilli from Forest Park and all the guys that have retired in these last 12 years. We just haven't been to a point with this event where we were able to do this type of thing. And so I apologize to them for not giving them the recognition that they deserve. But I think a guy like Jeff, at this point right now, he deserves a little bit more, of a celebration of UP football. He's part of this event, and so are all these other guys that stood up and that we recognize. They're all part of this too. And so I'm gonna invite up here Bill Santilli, former coach from Forest Park, state champion coach, and he's gonna introduce Jeff Olson. So Bill Santilli.
Thanks, Doug. Hello to everybody. Great stories, players. I love hearing the introductions. Those are always fun. When Todd called me up about a month ago and asked if I would be willing to come and say a few things about Jeff and introduce him, he gave me the old standard answer. He said to me, "I'm asking you a favor." I said, "Just tell me what it is. I don't care what it is, I'll do it." When he asked me to introduce Coach Olson, it was one of the easiest things I could have to say yes to. A man that I admire, a coach that I admire, probably as well known in the UP as he is in the state of Michigan, and maybe even beyond the state of Michigan. Jeff Olson, longtime and very successful football coach at Ishpeming High, will be our guest speaker at tonight's All-Star Banquet. Jeff was born in Marquette, participated in athletics at Marquette High, where he was recognized as an all-UP selection in both football and basketball. He furthered his education right here at NMU, earned a bachelor's degree in business management in 1985, followed with a teaching certificate in PE in 1987. Besides his 22 years teaching at Ishpeming, he's taught at Marquette, Gwynn, and Sault Ste. Marie schools. Coach Olson has established a coaching career that I can only describe as remarkable. In addition to his legendary status at Ishpeming as the football coach, he's also coached basketball for 30 years and track for 15 years. And all I can say to you, Coach, is I put 18 years in at the varsity football level at Forest Park, and then came off of that season to just do junior high basketball. And I don't know how you can do basketball and track following extended, long, lengthy football seasons. You must have some divine intervention inside you that keeps you going, because that is truly remarkable. The accomplishments that he and his Hematites have earned during his tenure are mind-boggling. The impressive list includes more than 200 victories, several conference, district, and regional championships, UP Teams of the Year recognition, 17 MHSAA playoff appearances that resulted in his Hematites playing in every game possible for 5 seasons. They were state finalists in 2010 and 2014, and ended up bringing home the state championship trophies back across the big bridge in 2012, 2013, and 2015. Throughout Jeff's coaching career, he has earned just about every kind of recognition that can be awarded to a high school football coach, ranging from conference, regional, UP, Detroit News, Associated Press, and the Michigan High School Football Coaches Association, where he was selected as the Division VII State Coach of the Year 4 times. Maybe one of his best highlights in 2016, he was so fittingly inducted into the Michigan High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And last year, he received recognition as the Detroit Lions Coach of the Week, which earned him and his wife Sally another trip down to Ford Field, which I'm sure this one was much less stressful than the other ones that you went to. His love and desire for the game of football has also influenced many other players and coaches within the UP in our great state of Michigan as a result of his willing to coach in all-star games. And I think it was alluded to the fact already that Jeff just came back from downstate Saginaw, where he coached in the East-West All-Star game, and we already know that this is his 7th UP All-Star game. Truly remarkable, Jeff. Jeff's family include his wife, Sally, 28 years, sons Daniel, Taylor, and Isaac, and his daughter, Jamie. Lastly, being a former football coach that I am, I decided I had to do a little scouting report on Jeff. Find some things that maybe haven't been printed about him in the media for all of these years. You can Google his name, and there's a wealth of things out there about Coach Olson. But I have to give credit to his wife, Sally, for these interesting tidbits that she shared with me. And these are in her own words now, by the way. And nothing's bad, Coach, nothing's bad. He loves his family and is very proud of his children. Getting to coach Daniel and Isaac, and both of them getting to Ford Field, with Isaac being a major player in a state championship game, was huge for their dad. He is funny, but she didn't want to have any PG stories that she could share. So I'm assuming most of those are X-rated. I like this one. He loves chocolate chip cookies. Every few years, a student will figure it out. If they bring him chocolate chip cookies, they get excused from PE class. He's not just a dumb jock. He actually plays the piano a little bit. Then she said, maybe I take that back. He introduced me by the wrong name last summer. I think you're going to pay for that one for a long time. She said, I've been married for 28 years. Yup, a long time. While we were dating, Jeff invited me to a game. He is quiet, fun, laid back. During the game, not sure what I saw. I didn't know if I saw a single play. Some crazy guy jumping up and down screaming was on the sidelines. Yikes, is that really somebody that is dating material? And she must have dialed it back a little bit, Coach, because when she told me the story on the phone, I think she used the word lunatic in there. Our daughter Jamie said, what makes Dad a good father is that he is always willing to listen to us. What makes him an even better dad is that he will always listen to us the second time because he was distracted when we told him the first time. And fittingly then, your wife says, the story from my daughter about always willing to listen, you may have to tell that twice. So Jeff really does hear it the second time around. She says, he puts 110% into coaching. He puts 110% into his family. Now, she hopes he'll put 200% into relaxing. And before I bring you up here, Todd has a little gift that we brought up for you based upon the information received from your wife, Sally.
Well, the red team, knew that you guys, you really like chocolate chip cookies, so they got Sal to make the most giant chocolate chip cookie possible, and you're supposed to eat it all tonight so that you're real sleepy and tired tomorrow for the game. Please join me in welcoming this man that myself and so many others admire, Coach Jeff Olson.
That's something special being introduced by a legend. And Coach Santilli's been in the state championship game 7 times. Got a street named after him in Crystal Falls, so he's had a long, successful career. So that's something very special. Very special. I retired this year on March 4th. I remember that day. There was so many people that they were surprised. They didn't understand how long I've been coaching. And like Coach Santilli said, 37 years in football, 30 in basketball, 15 in track. That's a long time, back to back to back. And, throughout my coaching career, I've coached, fortunate enough to be able to coach kids of the kids I coached, coach kids that have gone on to be head coaches, doctors, dentists. But where's Tucker Taylor? Tucker? I used to play softball against your grandpa, and I know he's here today too, so when we start getting into the grandpa stage, maybe I've been in this for a long time. But some of the most satisfying things that I've had through coaching, the wins and all that are great, but it's the relationships and the rivalries. The relationships I've had, and I can honestly say this, with all the coaches that are here today, I can honestly say I can call each one of them my friend. And I didn't know any of them when I started coaching. So you build those relationships. And it's not just the relationships with the coaches, but their families too and their spouses. And I look at, Todd Kangas, and, when I see him and his wife Laura, I can always expect a hug from his wife Laura. I got one tonight, and fortunate enough to coach against his sons and know them, Cody Gard and Tyler. And Scott Sergula and his wife Jackie and his son Ty, who was in our locker room for so many years, and Paul Jacobson and his wife Pam, and being able to coach and know Luke. That's all special. But I remember back to my son's funeral and how many UP coaches showed up to that. And that's something that we remember. And that's something that people don't understand how cool that is. So I really appreciate those relationships, and I really appreciate the rivalries. We've had some, and the cool thing about UP rivalries is once you step inside those white lines on a Friday night, it's win at all costs. And You can't say maybe you don't like the person across from you, but you're going to do anything you can to beat them. But always, with everybody, once that game's over, we can go back to being friends. And I look at, some of the rivalries we had with Nagani and Coach Jake over there. In our championship run in 2015, we were both undefeated. They were going in for the winning score. They had a pass interference, offensive pass interference call against them that brought them way back. He'll tell you to this day that it wasn't a push off, and I'll say, damn right it was, because I was right there 10 feet away. But things even out, because when their championship run in 2002, we scored what we thought was the clinching touchdown on a punt return, called back from a phantom clip. That I would say definitely wasn't a clip. He'll say, oh yeah, he got him, and that's why the reason that we scored. So, and even it carries over to this week, that rivalry. He's telling lies the whole week. Where? And I'm like, we know who's playing where. No, Tucker Taylor's at middle linebacker, Charlie Gerhardt's at the defensive end. He's just a liar. Anything he can to win. And I look at, the rivalry with Manistee. We've had some great luck against that rivalry, but not when Todd's two sons played, Cody and Guard, and they played in back-to-back years. And, I can tell you in those 2 years, they beat us in the regular season. In those 2 years, we were 1-3 against them. But that one win in the playoffs was pretty important, wasn't it? Even goes on to other coaches that are here, and I look at Chad Hewitt, when my 3 years as head basketball coach, our rivalry with Westwood, and, we beat them twice in the regular season, but then they turn it around and beat us in the district championship and go on to win a regional championship. And there's so much give and take in the rivalries, and I got, Scott Sergila, and, well, Scott never beat me, so that's not even a rivalry. But let me say this, and this is about rivalries, and this is about Scott, because we're crosstown rivals, and Scott coaches me, 13, 15 years. And so many people, when Scott gave up his job with us and went to be a head coach at Westwood, so many people thought that all of a sudden now we're enemies and we hate each other. And I'm not exaggerating on that. And that's farther from the truth. I'm so appreciative of what Scott did for us at Ishpeming. He's a big reason for our success at Ishpeming. And when he went over to Westwood, he created a winning way. He was named UP Coach of the Year. He led Westwood to their best regular season record, so he's going to do fantastic things there. So I can honestly say this, with retiring, the rivalries are over, but the friendships will remain, and that's the truth. Anybody know what that is? It's Westwood State Championship trophy case. I say that for one reason, and that's just to rip a good friend of mine, Scott, and make him work harder, because I tell you this, he will win one. I guarantee you he's that good of a coach, so he will win one someday. And let me just say this, and this is kind of going off script, and when we're talking about state championships, Iron Mountain is also, a rival of ours. It's a rival of ours in basketball. So, Charlie Gerhardt, stand up, please. Ishpeming, I don't know if you watched their state championship game in basketball. They won the state championship and it was taken away from them. And I can honestly say, from us coaches, us players, us fans, everybody in this room, you are a state champion, my friend. Football's been great for me. The lessons I learned, and I really, you try to get those lessons instilled in kids. And what I learned in football, I've said this before when I've talked that, what I learned in football really helped me through the toughest times in my life. And when I was reflecting back on, what I was going to say here, and I'd like to go through some experiences that I had, I was thinking of some of the great wins that we had and some of the excruciating losses. Fortunately for me, a lot of the great wins, involved my son's playing for me. And that's, I'm so fortunate to be able to coach both my sons, having them be successful in football, and both of them, achieving the ultimate and getting to Ford Field with them. And I'll cherish that forever. And I look at, some of the great games that were played with my sons. I look at Daniel, in 2010, in our first game of the year, wild game. It really stands out in my mind. We're playing Iron Mountain. They went to the state semifinals that year. We went to the finals. This was for all the marbles, and it was only the first game of the year, but people kind of knew that. They were ahead of us 20-6 with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. We scored 4 touchdowns in 4 minutes. All 3 passes from Daniel to Gabe Eppert, one of the wildest games that I've ever been involved in. And then you got to 2012, our first state championship game, so emotional. I didn't even have a chance to, take in the sights because everybody wanted to win for our family and for Daniel, so that was so emotional, and, how big of underdogs we were. In 2015, when we won the state championship with my son Isaac, and if you know that story, Isaac wasn't a great athlete growing up. And in 8th grade, Daniel passes away, and Isaac didn't even start in Pop Warner. But he told me at his funeral, he said, "Dad, I'm going to win you a state championship." And I hadn't won one, and that was Daniel's dream. And in that game, Isaac ended up to be, a great football player, but he made 2 phenomenal plays in the last drive to help us win that state championship. So that will always stick into my mind as great wins. And you talk about that 2012 game against Detroit Loyola and how big of an underdog we were. I don't know if that compared to the 2009 game against Traverse City St. Francis. This is Daniel's junior year. They were a thorn in our side. They had won multiple state champions. We kept getting beat by them in the state quarterfinals. They brought up what they said was their best team ever, and it was. They had 4 guys going to play Big Ten. 3 of those guys had their, short stint in the NFL. We played against 3 NFL players, another one going to the Big Ten. They scored 2 quick touchdowns right off the bat. We hung around, and we hung around, and we hung around, and we scored a touchdown with 15 seconds to go to tie it. All we had to do was kick the extra point. And if you guys know, we never kick an extra point. We don't even have a kicker. So we went for 2. We missed it. We went in overtime. They beat us. And I remember this like it was yesterday. Still on the Superior Dome floor. Players are still there dejected. I'm dejected. And my mother-in-law comes out of the stands. It's the first time she's ever done this. She's never done it again. She came right up to me screaming, "Why don't you have a kicker? You never have a kicker. If you would have had a kicker, you would have won this game." I punched her right in the eye. But you know what? I understand that passion. I understand that passion she has. I understand the passion that people in the stands have. I understand the passion that, the old guys on the morning coffee clutches were there critiquing how we coach, and they always know things and know how to do things better. I understand that passion. And passion will get what you want, will get you what you want in life. And now I'm talking to these players, and now Todd has to put them on both ends of the room. So it's going to look like I'm at a tennis match, but, I developed a passion from my head. Every time I talk about my high school coach because I learned so much from him. I respect him so much, Mike Gillespie. I learned about passion for coaching from him. And the reason I did that is because his first year at Marquette, I played at Marquette, it was my junior year, that was his first year. He came in, and when he talked to us, he didn't talk to us about winning football games. That came later. He talked about preparing us for life. And he says, we're going to demand commitment, and we're going to demand discipline. And those are the types of things that we're going to work on that are going to prepare you to be a success in life. And he says, in order to be a good athlete, you have to be a good person first. And that was first and foremost with him. And he said that the wins will come after that. So basically what he did is he gave us a why. He gave me a why. Why should I commit? Why should I be disciplined? And those things are so important in life. And I really believed he cared about us. And I was willing to do anything for him. That's the power of care. When you care about somebody so much, they will do anything for you. It's the same with you parents. You care so much about your kids, you will do anything for them, and I'm sure it's the other way around. But that's the way it can be in the real world too. If you care about somebody, they will follow you, and they will do what you want, and that's what we need, in this life is we need more caring. But that passion That passion is something that you need to take with you the rest of your life. Passion is a strong word. It's an emotional word. It's an intense desire. It's stronger than love. It's doing anything you can to get what you want. It's willing to give things up, to sacrifice. My passion was to be a head football coach. My first teaching job and coaching job was at Sault Ste. Marie in 1990. I was assistant football coach. I was the first-year teacher, and I coached 7th grade basketball. I just got married to my wife, Sally. She was pregnant for my son, Daniel, and I gave it up after 2 years because my passion was to be a head football coach. So I gave that up. I came to Ishpeming without a teaching job, so I gave up a full-time teaching set. It was time, I was an adult. It's time to take care of my family. It's time to provide for my family. But I gave it up to come to Ishpeming for $3,700. Who gives up? Who gives that up? It's somebody with a very supportive wife who understands what I had a passion for in life. So she developed that passion too, and she was extremely, extremely supportive with that. So the question I have for you guys is, do you want to be like everybody else? Or do you want to enjoy life and make a better life for not only you, but for your family when you end up having families? If you want to do that, you better get up earlier and stay up later. You better outwork, you better outgrind, you better be willing to go through pain and give things up to get what you crave. That's how you're successful in athletics also. And athletics emulates life, and the things that you learn in athletics will help you be successes later on in life. With passion, you are more willing to commit. You're more willing to accept discipline, to be tired, and to stay focused. I really believe that. It's what we look for in a player. It's what you need as a person. And if you're going to be a boss, that's what you need your employees to have, is passion, and they will do great things for you. I guarantee it. Passion also allows you to act rationally in the face of adversity. On the football field, some of you tomorrow, you may have a fumble that costs you a game. You may throw an interception. You may have some penalty that costs you a game. That's adversity. But you have enough passion to get through it and understand that with adversity becomes an opportunity to make you stronger. And I really believe this. I really believe that comes to the forefront with athletes. One thing I learned as a head coach is sometimes the best athlete doesn't play. Again, I learned that from Coach Molesky. His first year that he came over, he wanted commitment and he wanted discipline. And he said, this is what we're going to do in the off season. We're going to lift and we're going to work out in the off season. We had a kid from a two-way starter that was going to be a senior from the year before. He wanted to have a job. He said, I'm not coming. He said, you're not allowed to come out. It wasn't, come out and work your way maybe, or come on out and be a tackling dummy. He said, no, you're not allowed to come out if you're not going to commit. That caught my eye. That caught my attention. That first year, we had a starting tailback who was a junior. After the season was over, he got in trouble. He started getting in trouble, got in trouble again. He was still eligible to play the next year. Coach said, no, you're not coming out. We want people who are disciplined. With the first one, we want people who are commit. We want people who are going to commit. With the second one, he said, I want people who are disciplined. And we were extremely successful that year. I learned that the biggest, fastest, strongest doesn't always win. The most committed, the most passionate, the most disciplined have a better shot than the greater athletes. Athletes can be controlled sometimes. I learned that in football. All these coaches know. You can get a great athlete at tailback. You can set the edge. You can force him into the middle where all these other players are, so he can't use his athletic ability. If they want to split him out wide, you can double cover him. You can find ways to control athletes. If they have that big, strong, fast offensive, defensive lineman, you can take away their legs. You could get better leverage, so they can't use those major muscles in their legs that make them so powerful and faster. You can never put 11 great athletes on the field, but you could put 11 passionate players on the field. And with that, you can accomplish so much. And that's the way it is in life too. You want people that want to be there. You don't want people in the weight room that are there just because you're forcing them to. You want people in the weight room that are there because they want to, because they know the value to it, and they know the value not of just getting stronger, but the value of committing. That's the culture we tried to build at Ishmael. That's the culture that Westwood tried to build, Nagani, Nastique, West Dyer County. Everybody tries to build that culture. You want people who are invested. Talk about being invested. I heard this story a long time ago, and I just heard it recently about the lion and the gazelle. The lion is the athlete. The lion is the biggest. He's the fastest. He's the strongest. He can pretty much do what he wants. He can eat what he wants. He can sleep when he wants. But the gazelle on the other hand, knows that every day he wakes up, he has to be faster and he has to be smarter than the lion. Otherwise, he doesn't survive. Every day, he has to have that passion for living. For us, when we played Detroit Loyola was the lion. They had two guys off that team in 2012, the 35th pick in the NFL draft. Another of their linemen just signed with the Cleveland Browns. Two NFL players. Their middle linebacker went to Western Michigan Division I. Their two tailbacks, they ran a double wing formation. One tailback was the leading rusher in the state All-Star game. The other tailback was the leading rusher on the Division II national champion runner-up. They were the lion. We were the gazelles. We had to do things right all the time and be focused. And I can tell you this, the 3 times we played them, the lion didn't eat. 2 of those times, the lion didn't eat that day. So you can win. You can survive in life. Believe this. By being the smallest, maybe being the weakest, maybe being the less fortunate. It doesn't matter what you're dealt with in life. It doesn't matter the odds that you have to overcome in life. There's so many people out there that have to overcome odds because they're not blessed with all this ability. You can thrive. You can be a gazelle. Everybody wants to be a lion. There's nothing wrong with being a gazelle because a gazelle does things right every single day. The gazelle brings their A game every single day. And I know this, a lot of coaches, when they get into big games, they ask their team, we need your A game today. We need you to play great today. No coach should ever have to ask a team to bring their A game. You should be practicing your A game every single day. And I know this. We didn't do that. We practice hard. And the Ishmael kids will know, I know it's brought over to Westwood. I know everybody practices hard. Instead of asking for their A game, I did this a few times with our teams. I asked them to bring something better. I asked them to play a little bit above their best. There was a couple times I said, your A game your best might not be good enough today. You have to play better than you ever played before in your life. And you can't ask that if they're not used to bringing their A game every day, if they're not used to giving their best every day. I said this last year, and I know there's a couple people here, and I'm going to say it again, and hopefully it doesn't sound like, I'm cocky or anything like that, but this is something that I'm probably one of the things that I'm most proud of, coaching at Ishmael. We were in 5 state championship games. We were a heavy underdog in all 5. We played the #1 team in the state in 4 of them. And because we were the Gazelles, we were outgained in total yardage in 4 of them. We were behind at halftime in 4 of them, and we won 3. That's Gazelles going to work. We needed to have passion. We needed to have resiliency. From the opening whistle to the ending whistle, and if you watch those games, it took 48 minutes in all 5. So if you're going to lead somewhere, if you're going to be a boss, if you're going to run a company, if you're going to lead people, and this goes with your family, surround yourself with passionate people. If you don't have them, build them. Build them by caring. You care so much for your families, you can care for your employees, you can care for the people around you. Caring gives people a why, like Coach Bileski gave us. He gave us a why. Why should I work hard? Why should I be a better person? Why should I give back? Why should I volunteer? Why should I serve others? Most times in your life, the why is more important than the want. Believe that. The want is the trophies. The want is the championships. The want is being vice president or being president. But I really believe this. Ultimate success is what you do with your life. That will give you the most satisfaction. Did you make the world a better place? Did you help people? Did you make a difference? I look at some very successful athletes, $1 million, Shaquille O'Neal, Millions and millions and millions of dollars, NBA championship rings. He said that every time his mom calls him, she says, Jack, what'd you do to make the world a better place today? You were blessed. You got to take that blessing and help other people. He doesn't have to do that, but he has a why. Drew Brees, Super Bowl quarterback, millions of dollars. He'd always say this: we are put on this earth to serve people. He doesn't have to do that. He has money. He can have people do things for him, but he wants to help people. State championship coach from Lance, Bill Sugarpop. They won in 1965. He would always tell his players, he'd tell people from Lance that he taught, tell them to give back. And I'm telling you guys this too. Somebody helped you along the way to get to where you are. Give back. Give back because somebody helped you. You need to give back because you are the best of the best, and you need to help other people along the way. The day I retired was very emotional for me. It was March 4th. It was hard to do, and I remember this. The second, I started getting texts and emails. The second text I got was from a player that I failed with. I couldn't get him to commit. He was a two-way starter. I couldn't get him to commit. He'd come part-time. He was a part-timer. And if you're part-timer and you're going to the heat of battle, sometimes that doesn't work out. And I know his senior year, we were low on numbers, and towards the end of the year, he ended up quitting. We had to forfeit our last game. I failed with him. The second text I got after I retired was from him. He said, Coach, I'm sorry, but thank you. Because what you taught us and what you taught me, I understand now, and it's going to help me be a success in life. That's my why. Last summer, I was visiting the psychiatric ward, the brain unit for anyone that's seen my presentation. I was visiting a person who had made an attempt on their life. And I was in the hallway, and somebody I didn't know, a patient there, came up and tapped me on the shoulder. He said, I just want you to know that you're the reason I had the confidence to come here. Again, that's my why. To me, that's more important than the trophies. That's more important than the championships. So I'm telling you this. Find your why in life. Ultimate success, I believe, really, is the why in your life. And you'll realize somewhere down the road that it's more important than the one. And let me end with this. And this is, I don't know if this is ranting, I don't know what, but I want to say it. There's so much negativity in the world today. Everybody's against each other. There's no compromise. So tell me why all these kids, for 1 week, that are all different, they're all rivals, they don't know each other, how can they just get along so phenomenally all week? It's because of respect. And I don't know if it's because of respect with football. I don't know if it's because of respect for being from the UP. It didn't matter all week if they were liberal, conservative, left, right, Ishmael, Westwood, Nagani, Marquette, Iron Mountain, Kingsford. They did it because of respect for each other. And I really believe our society needs to emulate what happened this week. And you guys will be the leaders for that. We need to have a passion for a common goal as a society. We need to care about each other more. Not just yourself, not just your team, not just your beliefs, not just your side. Our society really can learn from what Todd Goldbeck and Jody put together this week, and how you can make people of all different kinds come together and get along so phenomenally. So thank you, Todd, for allowing me to come and speak. Thank you, Bill Santilli, for introducing me. Thank you, coaches, for all the support and making me work so much harder in my career. And thank you, parents, for being such great parents and supporting your kids. And hopefully, maybe I'll see you in the stands someday. Thank you.
One more time, Coach Jeff Olson, let's show him how much we care about him. Thank you, everybody. That concludes the banquet for tonight. Tomorrow, the doors open to the Dome at noon. Pre-game will be happening right at noon, so we'll see you guys tomorrow. Kickoff player introductions are right at 1 o'clock. Any of the guys that got rings, if you want the little box that your ring came in, it's over on the other side of the table by the trophy. You want the box, the little box that it came in to protect it.
5 each.